Okay, I'm jumping right into 1 John chapter 2, verse 10. And this isn't a clincher verse, I would say, for victory, but I think it's a hint of it. I think it's a valid hint of it. It says, "He that loves his brother abides in the light, and there's none occasion of stumbling in him." You don't fall. You don't stumble. You're not even tripping over anything. Because if you have light, you can see really clearly, right? There's no obstacles that you're tripping over or objects in your way or anything. And so if you're loving, you're in light. Love leads to light. Light leads to love. It's kind of a cycling effect here. I don't know about effect, but that seems to be the way it seems to pan out. He mentions a lot about light. And the fact is, the people that he was writing to, the community of believers, he's warning them of false teaching and false doctrine, such as Gnosticism and things. I'm not going to go into what it is right now, but one of the things, well, I'll just say a bit, Gnosticism has to do with special knowledge, and they believe they had the special light of God, and they had special secret knowledge, mysterious sort of stuff, and you're in the light, kind of this false light. It's really darkness, and he kind of says that quite a bit in these passages. They're really in darkness. They're in true darkness. They don't have the true light. Because if you have true light, you're going to do various actions that are showing that light. It's fruit of light, which is goodness and kindness. I'm thinking about Paul in Ephesians chapter 4. I'm kind of mixing the passages now. But John says, whoever loves his brother, and he's talking about, I believe, brother, meaning the community of believers there. His focus is to them, to that community. Although, John's not opposed to what Jesus said, love your neighbor. There's a difference in the sense between, I believe, neighbor and brother. I can't say that my neighbors who do not know Jesus Christ and the people in the world are my brothers and sisters. Yeah, I know. In another way, if you look at it from a different form, we're all brothers and sisters in the sense that God created everything. But it's very clear biblically that there's a division. Jesus said, "I came to bring a sword and not peace." In other words, there's a division of God's people and the people of darkness, or children of darkness, children of light. There's passages I'm thinking of all over the place. It's just sprinkled everywhere. That there's a difference. And so when he says, "He that loves his brother," if you're really loving him, then you're in the light. Isn't that what he said right there? He says, "He that loves his brother abides." I like that word, abides. He dwells and he lives in the light. So I think it's not just a hit and miss. That as you grow in Jesus and as you love more and more, then you get more and more, you're abiding in the light. Or if you reverse it, you could say whoever abides in the light loves. And I think he kind of says that throughout in different ways. Well, here it is in verse 9, the one before it. "He that says he is in the light and hates his brother is in darkness," And so hate meaning you're not really showing deeds and acts of love. I think if you looked at a careful analysis of John and what he's saying, hatred doesn't mean necessarily these feelings and animosity and vengeance and hatred to the point you want to murder someone. Although he did mention that coming up here in chapter 3, he says, if you hate someone, you're a murderer already. So it can be some of that. But I think hatred is also compatible with indifference. You don't really care. And that's sort of a sense of, I hate you. I don't care about you. I mean, there might be some different opinions on that. You might oppose what I'm trying to say. But it's a suggested thought here. And he's very strong later, and I think of chapter 4, about action. You don't really love them. You really hate them. So he really contrasts his love and hate, light and darkness quite a bit. Going back to this to finish up, "He that loves his brother dwells, lives in, abides," you remain in the light. And it says, and here's a victory point of it, I think. "And there's no occasion of stumbling in him." No occasion, like you never fail. You don't trip. And I think he's suggesting here, when you really love and you're really walking in the light, then you're not sinning. Isn't love the fulfillment of the law? and that you're not going to do anything against someone. You fulfill all the commandments, right? The big 10 commandments. You're not going to, if you love them, you're not going to steal. You're not going to commit adultery. You're not going to lie. You're not going to bear false witness. You're not going to covet. It's really loving people. You don't desire what people have and you want it, and you have envy and jealousy and everything else. And love is patient. Love is kind. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4, in that whole passage. So, I think there's no occasion of stumbling. I just happen to see this right here. It's like you're living in the light bulb of God's truth and knowledge of Him, and therefore you're not going to fail. You're not going to fall. You're not going to stumble. You're not going to sin. You don't sin against people when you love people, right? You know what I mean? And do you ever sin? Well, once in a while you have a moment in the flesh, or you kind of slip in your weakness, or you get angry a little bit, which was in the flesh anger. And that was a slip and all, and you go, oh, I'm so sorry. It's not like you're way out of the light now, but you have a slip here and there. But basically, you're not falling, there's no occasion, if you're really loving and you're really walking the light, there's none occasion of stumbling. I think if you're full of love, full of light, you're not going to sin against people. And I kind of want to say, just as more than almost a rule, it's just you're not going to. Of course, if you happen to do that, remember he said in the previous verses, if you happen to sin, you have an advocate with the Father. So we have a safety net under there. And you can say, oh, Father, I blew it. I wasn't walking in the light just then. But if you're really abiding in the light, you're going to live a life of love. And if you live in a life of love, you're fulfilling God's law. If you're fulfilling God's law, he also says this coming up, sin is a transgression of the law, he says in chapter 3. And so we're in chapter 2 right now, kind of evaluating some of these verses. So I think that covers it. I hope that does. Victory to you, please, brother and sister in the Lord. Walk in his light and love people. Love your brothers and sisters, and love everybody else as well. All right, thank you.